The people of the United Kingdom are ruled by traitors. There is no other word that fits them better. Keir Starmer, the Labour government, and the Conservatives before them have consistently put the needs of foreigners, minority groups, and anyone who is not white British ahead of the host majority. This cannot be denied, though the BBC would have you believe that the greatest threat to the nation is white skinheads carrying burning crosses through the streets. But why has this happened? What is the root cause of this deep hatred for all things British, and this relentless celebration of all things foreign? I'm author Simon Evans, and today we're going to examine exactly what has gone so catastrophically wrong in our country and in Western civilization at large. Every single time a politician appears on television, we are met with the same tired platitude. Diversity is our greatest strength. Or the even more infuriating claim, diversity built this country. I am sick of it. Sick to my stomach of being constantly told by the elite class that everything foreign is wonderful and superior, while everything traditionally British is portrayed as evil or shameful. We are being indoctrinated day after day into believing that diversity is an unquestionable moral good that can have no downsides. But that is a lie. One of the greatest downsides is the steady dilution of who we are as British people. Since the end of the Second World War, our society has been infiltrated by morally superior do-gooders who seize every opportunity to diminish British culture and fetishize everything foreign. Now we stand at a crossroads in our history. We must make a clear choice. Either we accept this ideological tyranny and allow our identity to be erased, or we stand firm, with one united voice, and declare, we are proud to be British, and we will not submit to your ideology any longer. A big part of the problem is the mainstream media, particularly the BBC. Once a proud institution, it can now barely even consider a worldview other than its own twisted form of liberalism. Just yesterday, I saw a BBC video that perfectly illustrates this sickness. It portrayed an Afghan man selling his two little daughters in a sympathetic light. Let that sink in. A 45-year-old Afghan man appeared on camera saying he was now too old to work, so he had to sell his own two daughters. While doing so, he was stroking them both as if they were animals. How did the BBC frame this horrifying story? Their actual title was "Selling Children to Survive: Afghan Fathers Forced to Make Impossible Choices." I did not change a single word. That is exactly what the BBC wrote. Let me be clear. For any decent British man, there is no situation so desperate, no hardship so severe, no collapse so total, that would ever make selling your own children an option. That thought would not even enter the mind of a normal man, let alone be acted upon. This is why I mention the BBC, because it has become little more than the propaganda mouthpiece for the British government. It dances to their tune on every issue, and aggressively attacks any opinion that challenges the official narrative. And this sickness has now spread to nearly every major British institution, and, by extension, our entire society. The problem stems from moral weakness, what we now call virtue signalling. You see, the people captured by this ideology always present their views as kind and morally superior. They use clever but simple tactics to manipulate others into agreeing with them. They constantly preach slogans like "be kind" and "be tolerant," which on the surface sound like righteous and noble values. However, this is where the trap lies. These slogans are weaponized to shut down all dissent. If you dare question mass immigration, challenge the impact of diversity, or even suggest that British people should come first in their own country, you are instantly denounced as a racist, a xenophobe, a homophobe, an Islamophobe, or whatever other label is fashionable that week. What begins as a call for kindness quickly becomes a tool of intimidation and control. Disagree with the official narrative, and you are not just wrong, you are evil. You are a bad person. This tactic has been brutally effective at silencing millions of ordinary British people who simply want to preserve their own culture and way of life. At the heart of all this is a fundamental problem. These people do not see the world as it actually is. Instead, they view everything through the distorted lens of their ideology. They insist that all cultures are equal and that all peoples are interchangeable, even though the evidence before our eyes shows this is clearly not true. Anyone with common sense can see that cultures are not equal. Some cultures produce freedom, prosperity, and stability. Others produce tyranny, poverty, and chaos. But to admit this obvious truth would shatter their entire worldview. So instead, they demand that the rest of us pretend to believe in this fantasy version of reality. If you refuse to play along, if you point out the differences in outcomes, in values, or in compatibility, you are immediately met with the magic words racist, bigot, or far right. These are not arguments. They are spells designed to end discussion and punish wrongthink. Yet what they call kindness and tolerance is nothing more than cowardice dressed up as virtue. It is easy, after all, to preach tolerance and diversity when doing so brings you social credit, praise from the elite, and zero personal risk. True goodness and moral courage require a backbone. They demand that you speak uncomfortable truths even when it costs you dearly: your job, your friends, your reputation, and your standing in society. This is why so few dare to call out the Pakistani grooming gangs that preyed on thousands of vulnerable British girls across Rotherham, Rochdale, and other towns for decades. This is why so few will speak plainly about the murder of Henry Novak and the growing number of cases where anti-white hatred is ignored or even enabled. This is why the police and authorities often appear more concerned with protecting feelings and narratives than protecting the native British population. Real moral strength means refusing to stay silent in the face of evil, even when the mob brands you a bigot for doing so. If enough of us refuse to stand together against these cowards, we will lose our civilization forever. This is not hyperbole. We are at a tipping point. Decades of cowardice disguised as kindness, of betrayal disguised as compassion, have brought us to the edge of irreversible decline. If we continue to stay silent, if we keep surrendering our homeland out of fear of being called names, then everything our ancestors built, our culture, our freedoms, our identity as a people, will be erased within a generation or two. We do not have the luxury of time. The choice before us is stark. Stand up now and reclaim our country, or watch it disappear forever. We'll leave it there for today, but I'm only just getting started. Thank you for watching this video. If you've made it this far, it means you're one of the many British people who are tired of the lies and ready for the truth. If this message resonates with you, then I urge you to stand up. Speak out in your daily life. Refuse to stay silent out of fear. Like, comment, and share this video so it reaches more people who feel the same way. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. More videos like this are on the way. We're going to keep exposing the rot, challenging the lies, and fighting for our country. Together, we can still turn this around. See you next time.